My name is Pam Chrysosimo, and this summer I've been working at a lab at UCSD.
My name is Pam Chrysosimo, and this summer I have been working at a lab at UCSD, and I have been working on how to do plasmid injections for my studies. I hope to be, at this point I am undeclared. I want to major in bio and go to med school. So chemical bio seems like a good idea. I have actually learned a good deal. I came in knowing absolutely nothing about molecular bio, and I've learned a lot this summer. So my job is to make DNA basically. In order to make DNA, I need to go through different steps. The first step is growing up the bugs or bacteria. The next step is going through a process that breaks down the bugs, breaks down the cell walls, and breaks down the bugs, and isolate DNA from that. So what I am going to describe is how to start a culture of DNA. Start a small culture of DNA, and that is called inoculation. The first thing I am going to need to do is figure out what number the plasmid is. For example, this morning my boss told me I had to make a culture of MC17B7. So I need to grow the bugs overnight. So I go to the catalog and find what the number for MC17BM is number 31. Rather than wasting my time looking through the names of the labels on the tubes, I just know that the number is 32. The first thing that it taught me was to label everything. So I get a piece of colored tape and write the name number 32. There are three things you need to label. Is the name, the date, and your initials. So I put 32, MC7BM, I put the date, November 17th, and PM. Those are my initials. Actually, I get a 10 mil culture tube, and Loria broth is the media in which the bugs grow. So I get 3 mils of LB into the culture tube, and in order to have that amount, we need to be precise. So to do that, we have a tool called a pipette aid, which is a measurement thing, is more of a mechanic thing. So we put the pipette into the pipette aid and suction out 3 mils, and we put 3 mils of this LB into the culture tube. And after that, this plasmid needs to be insulin resistant. So we go to the culture refrigerator, and I have A100, and A100 means amsilogram, 100 grams per. So I need to take it out of the freezer and put it on the heat block. But you can't. You can't remove things. You can't pipette out things that are frozen. So I put it on the heat block. And once it is unfrozen, I take different things from the pipette. And so I pipette up 3 microliters, which is lambda, it is written, it is called lambda, LAMDA, 3 lambda of the thawed ampicillin, and I pipette 3 lambda of the ampicillin into the 3 mils of LB, and I inject that to the 3 mils of LB. And now any bug that grows out of the LB will be ampicillin resistant, and put it in the freezer because everything needs to be frozen and not left outside. Now I make sure the cap is on and everything is okay. Now I go to the freezer room. Now that the media is ready,
And the bacteria is
I go to the freezer room,
-80
and
degrees Celsius.
the freezer room is at -80 degrees Celsius. So I make sure before I start, I always have my gloves on.
So I take my tray where I have my
I take my tray. I take my tray where I have my 10 milligram.
A box of pipette tips.
I take my pipette, my box of pipette tips,
and then I
and
go
also
into the freezer room.
That's it.
And I open the
and I go into the freezer room, and I open the -80 degree freezer, and I open the box, the deep box,
where the bacteria is stored. And so then I
where the bacteria is stored.
And then I look for number 32.
And so I pull out the box and look for number 32. So I took out my little tube that has the number 32 on it, and then I put the rest in the box. I close the box and put it in the freezer, because you don't want all the other things to be falling out at once. So I close that, and now I have my pipette and my pipette tips.
Using my pipette
so I take a little bit,
of the
taking my pipette tip, I scrape a little bit of MCB571.
Into the 3 mils of LB.
I put a little bit of that into my 3 mils LB. I pipette up and I pipette down in order to remove anything that may be stuck in the pipette. And if it is too frozen and you can't isolate a chunk, then you remove, you take out some of the LB, and you squirt some of the LB stock into the frozen glycerin stock to thaw it a little bit, and then you scrape out a little bit of the bacteria because it is soft. And after you do that, you scrape a little bit and you put it in the LB amp, and you twist the cover back on and put it in the -80 degree freezer so that it chilled a little bit. It may be a little bit warm, and you put it back to make sure that nothing else is warm. It defrosts pretty quickly, so you have the bug in the solution, and you make sure you dispose of the pipette tip in the biohazard waste, because it is biohazardous, and you don't want anything else growing out of there. And you take the culture tube that is labeled, and you put it in the shake room. The shake room is where my bugs will grow overnight. But when I am doing a small culture, first of all, you need to turn down the shaker so it is not turning so fast. You need to turn it down so that and wait for it to come to a complete stop.
Then you turn it up and
you put the 10 mil tube on the shaker, and you close the door to keep it at 37 degrees to make sure that the shaker comes on again, because people have different stuff growing on there. And after that is done, you let it incubate for 6 or 7 hours, or however long you are working there. So you need to inoculate a thick culture, and right before you leave, you need to take 3 mils. You take the small culture and separate that